Hello and welcome to the 2025 Free Clinic Deeming Technical Assistance webcast. In this session, we will review the Free Clinic's FTCA program and its policy and application requirements. Please note that all the material we cover is also available on our technical assistance website, and yes, a recording of this session will be available as well. We have three learning objectives for this session. I will provide an overview of the requirements of the Free Clinic's FTCA program, detail the Deeming sponsorship application requirements for calendar year 2026 coverage, and review available resources and tools. For new applicants or initial applicants, this presentation will also cover the process for obtaining coverage that starts in calendar year 2025 and continues into calendar year 2026. Specifically, we will go over the program benefits, background and requirements, the application process, data reporting, important dates, and lastly, resources. Let's get started with program backgrounds, benefits, and requirements. To start off, let's begin with an overview of the Free Clinic program background. Then we will discuss the key benefits and the requirements. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, also known as HIPAA, Public Law 104-191, extended medical FTCA coverage to volunteer healthcare professionals at free clinics through the FTCA. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act has extended this coverage to free clinic board members, officers, employees, and individual contractors. Also see Public Health Service PHS Employment 42 USC 233-0. Free clinics need to apply for and sponsor a qualified individual for FTCA medical malpractice coverage. This coverage provides immunity from medical malpractice lawsuits for the covered individual when performing medical, dental, or related functions within the scope of their work at the free clinic. The Free Clinic's FTCA program has four main requirements based on statutory requirements. 1. Credentialing and privileging system. 2. Quality Improvement, Quality Assurance QIQA program, which includes a risk management system. 3. Professional liability. And 4. Annual data reporting. The Free Clinic's FTCA program extends free medical malpractice liability coverage to individuals who meet program and statutory requirements and are deemed as federal employees for such purposes. While the free clinic does not receive FTCA coverage as an entity, the free clinic must meet certain criteria in order to be able to sponsor individuals for coverage. The free clinic must be operated by a private, nonprofit entity that must be a 501c3 organization that does not accept reimbursement from any third-party payer such as private insurance or Medicare and Medicaid, that does not impose charges on patients, though please note that free clinics may accept voluntary donations and these donations cannot be seen as obligatory, and is licensed or certified per applicable law to provide healthcare services. A free clinic must meet and maintain the following program requirements: credentialing and privileging, risk management and quality improvement, quality assurance, patient notice of limited legal liability, review of medical malpractice claims, and annual data reporting. Note: please ensure that if there is a change in the name of the free clinic, you must provide proof that your organization has 501c3 status. If the clinic submits documents that do not match the name on their application, they must submit updated documents. Otherwise, the application will not be approved. Now let's go over the individual eligibility requirements for coverage. Individuals who are eligible for coverage are volunteer healthcare professionals, officers, governing board members, employees, and individual contractors. Let's take a moment to clarify eligibility and exemptions for volunteer healthcare professionals, also known as VHPs. If you have individuals who are volunteers, they must be currently licensed or certified in your state to be eligible. This requirement is consistent with our statute, PIN 2011-02, and as noted in PAL 2025-04. Additionally, please note that this licensure requirement is not required for officers, governing board members, employees, or individual contractors as it relates to FTCA eligibility purposes. But please note that these individuals are still required to be in compliance with the other free clinic FTCA program requirements and applicable state and local laws regarding licensure. Clinicians must provide services to patients at the free clinic or through certain qualifying offsite events conducted by the free clinic. Though deemed individuals have coverage, this coverage only applies to patients at the free clinic or through certain qualifying offsite events conducted by the free clinic. An example of a qualifying offsite event that could be covered would be a one-time health fair where the free clinics and FTCA signage is clear and medical records are maintained. Deemed individuals or the free clinic must provide each patient with written notification of the practitioner's limited legal liability. This notification must be provided at the free clinic site or a HRSA-approved offsite event. You can find samples of a limited legal liability notice available in English and Spanish in the free clinic application toolkit that can be accessed on the FTCA website. I also want to highlight a special note for individual contractors. Individual contractors must have a contract directly with the free clinic. A contract between a free clinic and a corporation does not provide sufficient basis for deemed status. What's not acceptable is a contract between corporation XYZ and your free clinic. What is acceptable is a contract between person X and your free clinic. Now let's go over coverage approval. Medical malpractice coverage under Free Clinic's FTCA program does not occur automatically. FTCA coverage requires HRSA's approval of applications for deeming of certain individuals from the sponsoring free clinic. FTCA coverage is not retroactive and is not effective until the date shown on the deeming letter. Free clinic coverage does not extend to free clinic entities. So what does this mean? Only free clinic individuals are eligible for coverage. However, the free clinic is responsible for submitting an application. Individuals only have coverage after they've been approved as of the date on the Notice of Deeming Action, also known as the NDA letter. And coverage is only for medical malpractice claims, specifically medical, surgical, dental, and related functions. Next, I want to acknowledge the program impact. Over the years, we have grown to over 9,000 providers nationwide, and this number continues to steadily increase. So, what are the key FTCA benefits to free clinics? So, FTCA coverage has no limit. It's an infinite medical malpractice insurance plan. It provides coverage in addition to and beyond Good Samaritan law for volunteers, and it covers legal costs such as attorney fees. So now let's discuss and compare the cost benefits associated with each key option. Good Samaritan law, also known as immunity law, private malpractice insurance, and FTCA coverage. With Good Samaritan law, you would need to pay all legal fees such as paying an attorney to represent you in court. In other words, in order for Good Samaritan law to apply, you still may need an attorney to make the case for Good Samaritan law. Private malpractice insurance is a negotiated contract with an annual premium, and FTCA coverage is free. So as long as you are deemed and meet the requirements, it is effectively a one-stop shop at no cost to you. So next up is unlimited coverage, also referred to as no dollar cap. With Good Samaritan law, if the law applies, there is generally no limit to the amount of a claim that can be dismissed. With private malpractice insurance, unlimited coverage does not apply. Each plan has a maximum monetary value on what is covered under the contract. FTCA coverage is the only program that protects you from liability for medical malpractice, no matter how high the settlement or judgment is. So what about legal costs, such as attorney fees? Good Samaritan law does not include coverage for these fees. Private malpractice insurance may cover these fees depending on your coverage plan. FTCA covers legal costs such as attorney litigation fees. Please note that it does not reimburse any legal costs that might be paid to the provider's counsel, but does mean that once the United States is substituted as the defendant, the free clinic is not required to pay any money to have the claim handled, regardless of how complicated the claim, how long it takes, how much representation may ultimately cost, or how high any settlement or verdict might be. So who is a named defendant? With Good Samaritan law and private malpractice insurance, free clinic individuals would be named defendants should allegations occur. However, with FTCA coverage, the United States becomes the named defendant rather than the free clinic individual. Okay, what type of allegations are covered? Good Samaritan law, private malpractice insurance, and FTCA coverage all provide coverage for allegations of medical errors, what lawyers typically call simple negligence. And despite their coverage, Good Samaritan laws do not protect against accusations of gross negligence, which goes beyond ordinary negligence. The specific definition of gross negligence can differ between states. In contrast, FTCA coverage does not exclude claims of gross negligence, unlike Good Samaritan laws. For more information, see Free Clinic Policy Information Notice 2011-02 and other tools at the HRSA FTCA Policies and Program Guidance page. For any questions about state-specific laws, please discuss with your own legal counsel. Okay, let's pause for a knowledge check. Good Health Center Free Clinic receives grant funding and donations. Does this make them ineligible for the FTCA Free Clinic program? What do you think? The correct answer is no. Receiving grant funding and donations does not make you ineligible for the program. A free clinic can receive grant funding and donations as long as the funding and donations are not for a specific service per person per capita. Okay, what about knowledge check number 2? Dr. Bess, a volunteer provider at Good Health Free Clinic, was wondering if there is a minimum number of hours she must work in order to qualify for the program. Any thoughts? The correct answer is no. Deemed individuals do not have a requirement for a minimum amount of hours to work or volunteer in order to qualify for this program and coverage. So now let's consider knowledge check number 3. What resources does a free clinic need to reference to assist in demonstrating compliance with the free clinic's FTCA program in the following areas: risk management, quality improvement, quality assurance, credentialing and privileging, and claims management? To demonstrate compliance, the free clinic should review the program policy and application guidance documents online at hrsa.gov, such as the Policy Information Notice 2011-02, the Program Assistance Letter 2025-04, the Determination of Coverage for COVID-19 related activities by the free clinic providers, and the application resources and ECRI tools. All right, next up is an overview of the application process. We have 3 types of applications: initial, supplemental, and redeeming. When can you complete and submit these applications? If your free clinic is new or not currently active, you can submit an initial application throughout the year, with the exception for when EHB system is closed for maintenance. The EHB system will open to accept initial applications on Friday, August 11, 2025. Coverage for initial, also known as first-time applicants, start on the day of approval and will extend through December 31st, 2026. So for example, if you are an initial applicant and you are approved for FTCA coverage on September 1st, 2025, your coverage will start that day. And since you are an initial applicant, your coverage will extend to December 31st, 2025, and you will also obtain coverage for January 1, 2026 through December 31, 2026. Supplemental deeming applications are used by free clinic initial applicants and redeeming applicants that have been approved for FTCA coverage and would like to add additional volunteers or other individuals later after their initial or redeeming application has been approved. Supplemental applications are accepted year-round on a rolling basis, and supplemental applications are not accepted during the annual redeeming application submission and review period. And finally, the redeeming application must be completed annually by all active free clinics who wish to continue participating in the program for the next calendar year. For this year's redeeming cycle, that would be for coverage during calendar year 2026, so that's January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026. The system will open to accept redeeming applications August 11, 2025, and all redeeming applications are due October 10, 2025. As a result, there will be a period of time during which EHB will not accept initial or supplemental deeming sponsorship applications for eligible individuals sponsored by free clinics. All initial and supplemental applications not submitted prior to August 11, 2025 will be voided, and you will have to wait until October 11, 2025, when the EHB reopens to create a new application. Over the next few slides, I will provide more details for each application type. Okay, so let's start with initial deeming applications. In addition to a complete initial deeming sponsorship application, you must also submit the following. Documentation of nonprofit status. Remember, the sponsoring free clinic must be clearly identified on the submitted 501c3 documentation. Board-approved QI and QA plan, credentialing and privileging information. Please remember, those must be credentialed every 2 years. Primary source verification, documentation of licensure, a description of all disciplinary actions and filed medical malpractice lawsuits and claims alleged against the free clinic or its sponsored individuals within 10 years prior to the submission of this FTCA application. This includes pending claims. And a complete application submitted within the EHB system. Now let's go over the supplemental application. In addition to a complete supplemental deeming sponsorship application, you must also submit the following. A copy of a new QI/QA plan only if the plan has changed since the initial deeming or redeeming sponsorship application. Credentialing and privileging information. Again, this must be credentialed every 2 years. Primary source verification documentation of licensure, and a description of all disciplinary actions, filed medical malpractice lawsuits, and claims alleged against any new sponsored eligible individuals within 10 years prior to the submission of this FTCA application, which also includes pending claims. And finally, redeeming. In addition to a complete redeeming sponsorship application, you must also submit the following. Documentation of 501c3 status, a copy of a new QI/QA plan, credentialing and privileging information must be credentialed every 2 years, primary source verification documentation of licensure, and a description of all disciplinary actions, filed medical malpractice lawsuits, and claims alleged against any new sponsored eligible individuals within 10 years prior to the submission of this FTCA application, which also includes pending claims. Again, as a reminder, the EHB system will be open to receive redeeming sponsorship applications on August 11, 2025. Okay, it's a great time for another notch check. So, number 4. When should a free clinic begin the redeeming sponsorship application for coverage year 2026? They can begin submitting applications on August 11, 2025. Free clinics should collect the information needed for the redeeming sponsorship application before beginning the application. While you cannot enter the information into the EHB system prior to August 11, 2025, you can begin collecting and reviewing policies and information that must be submitted. You can also start obtaining the necessary approvals, which may include board approval, now. You can review the application questions by reading the Free Clinic FTCA Program application questions found under the Free Clinics FTCA Program application section at the end of the Program Assistance Letter 2025-04. This slide shows 5 main sections of the application. Section 1 is contact information. Please provide clear and complete contact information for all applicable staff. Also upload state documentation indicating legal name change if the legal name change occurred since last deeming sponsorship application. Section 2 is site information. So all free clinic sites must be listed. Each site must be appropriately identified as the main site or as an additional site. Section 3 is sponsoring free clinic eligibility. This section relates to the eligibility requirements for the free clinic and individual healthcare professionals. The sponsoring free clinic is a registered nonprofit organization and proof of nonprofit documentation is required. Section 4 is credentialing and privileging systems. This section is required for all initial deeming and redeeming sponsorship applications. It's required for supplemental deeming sponsorship applications if the free clinic has changed its credentialing and privileging system since the annual deeming or initial sponsorship application. Section 5 is risk management systems. This section pertains to risk management and QI/QA policies and procedures. It is required for initial deeming and redeeming sponsorship applications. And it is also required for supplemental Deeming sponsorship applications if the free clinic has changed its QI/QA plan since the annual redeeming sponsorship application. Let's look at the details for Section 6. This is where you will list the following information for each individual: the individual details, contact information, COVID-19 questions, roles and specialty, individual type, service type. So this could be clinical work activities. So those are individuals that provide clinical care or participate in the supervision and oversight of clinical care. Or non-clinical activities. So these are for individuals who conduct purely non-clinical or administrative activities. You will also need to provide credentialing and privileging, including COVID-19 questions, any medical malpractice claims, and enter other comments. As part of this section, you will list these items for each individual. Indicate whether they are a new or renewal applicant, so you must select one type. Include their individual eligibility category, so are they a volunteer healthcare professional? Are they an officer, a governing board member, an employee, or an individual contractor? Whether they are licensed or certified. So if it's a volunteer, all volunteers must be currently licensed or certified in your state. For all other categories, they do not need to be licensed or certified, but may be and should be in accordance with applicable state law. As a reminder, if they are solely administering the COVID-19 vaccine, then you may alternatively document the state or federal legislation, declaration, or exemption that permits the VHP to administer COVID-19 vaccinations under a special grant of authority due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. This documentation must include proof that the individual meets all the requirements to work under the legislation or declaration. In Section 6, you will also upload a copy of the primary source verification of current licensure and certification if applicable. This is required for all volunteers as well as any other individuals who are indicated to be currently licensed or certified, or you will upload documentation of the COVID-19 exception. We'll talk more about primary source verification later in the presentation. You will also complete service type identification to indicate whether the individual is doing clinical or non-clinical activities. And PIN 2011-02 describes these details and other credentialing and privileging information. And we also have additional credentialing and privileging resources that we'll discuss at the end. You may be asking yourself, how do I know what information to put in for each individual? Look in PIN 2011-02, Section 5, Program Requirements, a Credentialing and Privileging. Credentialing and privileging is required for all licensed and certified individuals. This is also applicable for volunteers and other individuals providing healthcare services in your free clinic. The requirements for credentialing and privileging are listed in this PIN 2011-02, as well as helpful definitions such as for primary and secondary source verification. Alright, next you will make sure to fill out all necessary information in the patient visit data, attachments, remarks, and signature section of the application. Don't forget, the executive director must sign the application. Make sure that the name on the application matches the executive director's information in the contact information section. That's section 1. Okay, let's go over some ways to strengthen your application. Section 3, Sponsoring Free Clinic Eligibility. The sponsoring free clinic must be clearly identified on the submitted 501c3 documentation. Name on the documents must match the name of the organization applying for sponsorship status. Otherwise, other supporting documentation must be provided. For credentialing and privileging, review PIN 2011-02 to ensure that you are credentialing and privileging individuals according to program requirements. All credentialing and privileging dates must be within the past 2 years, and also provide the following information for volunteer healthcare professionals. That is their primary source verification of current licensure and certification, or a COVID-19 alternative. Your QI/QA plan or risk management plan must be approved, signed, and dated on a recurring basis, such as every 3 years. Please also include the methodology on how to identify your concerns. For risk management, do not submit the National Practitioner Data Bank report, but please include credentialing and privileging within the QI/QA plan. All right, Next, we are going to highlight additional details for guidance on primary source verification or PSV requirements. In the next few slides, I will highlight the who, the what, and the why. So, who needs to submit a primary source verification? For individuals who are indicated to be licensed or certified, these individuals' licensure and certification must be from the primary source and credentials must not be expired. What is an acceptable PSV? PSV must come directly from the original source of the credential or an approved agent of that source. Why are primary sources for PSVs so important? A PSV is a crucial patient safety step to ensure that you obtain accurate, real documentation from the organization that issues the credential. PSVs ensure up to date information and indicate any active restrictions on a provider's ability to serve patients. PSVs also help to ensure that the documents are real and not fake or changed. A secondary source, such as the original diploma, is not necessarily up to date, and it would not reflect any current issues, such as a physician's license that is currently revoked or suspended. So, what are examples of acceptable PSVs for licensure? Examples include documentation provided directly from a state licensing board, a State Department of Financial and Professional Regulation verification, or a lookup page with active status obtained by a designated free clinic staff member. What are examples of insufficient PSVs for licensure? These examples include an expired license or a copy of a license, documents that are secondary sources and not primary sources, such as state certificate of nursing, state license card, diploma, or the National Practitioner Databank query. Note: if your PSV submission is missing, illegible, expired, or not a primary source, then your application will be returned to you. Okay, so now we will test your knowledge on acceptable and non-acceptable PSVs. Let's pause for knowledge check number 5. Is this an acceptable PSV? The correct answer is no. This is not an acceptable PSV because the bottom box implies that the document was sent directly to the provider who then submitted the document to the applicant. The document notes availability of real-time verification on the website. It is therefore not a PSV. Let's move on to knowledge check number 6. Is this an acceptable PSV? The answer is yes. The applicant submitted a State Department of Financial and Professional Regulation verification or lookup page with active status. Although the expiration date is blank, the primary source includes a date at the top and indicates active status, which is sufficient in this case because FTCA went to the primary source website and verified how the license type was issued. Now for knowledge check number 7. Is this an acceptable PSV? Yes, this is an acceptable PSV. The document is from a national credentialing agency and includes the date of the credential verification as well as the registration expiration date.
Is this an acceptable PSV? No, this is not an acceptable PSV. This is a doula certificate. The clinic should obtain PSV from the agency that certified the specific individual.
Okay, is this an acceptable PSV? No, this is not an acceptable PSV. The document that was provided is a copy of the license, which is considered a secondary source verification. Okay, knowledge check number 10. How would Good Health Free Clinic complete and submit their application? Any thoughts? Applications must be completed and submitted through HRSA's EHB system.
If you are a free clinic applying for coverage for the first time as an initial applicant, you must have a unique entity identifier, also known as UEI, and be registered within the System for Award Management, also known as SAM. Reminders: you may find issues logging into sam.gov, so please check the website or reach out to Health Center Program Support. For more information, see the Program Assistance letter on our TA webpage. All right, we are almost ready to wrap up. Let's go over data reporting.
A data report is a statutory requirement and part of the annual redeeming sponsorship application. On an annual basis, all free clinics with FTCA deemed individuals must submit data on the following questions. Question 1. The total number of free clinic sponsored deemed individuals. This should include practitioners, board members, officers, independent contractors in the recent closed calendar year. Question 2. Total number of deemed providers. Please note that this number should not be larger than the number given to question 1 and should include all individuals providing clinical services. And question 3. The total number of FTCA covered patient visits conducted by deemed providers. Please note that this number should not be larger than the number given to question 1. Next up, we'll review a few important dates that you can mark on your calendar. Monday, August 11, 2025 is when the redeeming cycle opens. Friday, October 10, 2025 is when redeeming applications are due. A note on supplemental applications. Once a free clinic has their redeeming application approved, they can start submitting supplemental applications if they need to add more people. And the last important date is January 1, 2026, which is when the new deeming coverage begins. Finally, let's take a quick look at some resources to help you with the application. Please visit the Free Clinics FTCA program webpage for various tools such as the FTCA brochure, archived webinars, FTCA Free Clinic checklist, and sample liability letters available in English and Spanish. You can find more resources on free clinics by visiting the FTCA webpage and locating the Free Clinic Application Toolkit under Free Clinic Application. The FTCA Free Clinic Information Sheet is a document that provides an overview of the free clinic program's essential information and details. This two-pager is designed to inform and guide free clinics and healthcare professionals interested in participating in the program. The FTCA Free Clinic Program Information Sheet can be found under the Free Clinic Application Toolkit on the FTCA website. The Policies and Programs Guidance page provides tools such as the calendar year 2026 requirements for Federal Tort Claims Act, FTCA, deeming application for free clinics, Program Assistance Letter 2025-04, and the Free Clinics Federal Tort Claims Act Program Policy Guide, Policy Information Notice 2011-02. Please visit the website that you see on the screen for more information. Please also visit ECRI.org for a variety of tools such as risk management services provided on behalf of HRSA, services provided at no cost to free clinics, health centers, and lookalikes, free clinics demonstration video, and credential and privileging and other toolkits. To close this out, I want to thank everyone for tuning in with this session. If you have additional questions, please contact Health Center Program Support by phone at 877-464-4772, option 1. They are available from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, except for federal holidays. Or you can also contact them by using the online contact link that you can see on this slide. And also, please feel free to connect more with HRSA online. You can sign up for our newsletter or follow us on social media. Thanks, everyone.